So for 308 Day, I decided to bring out the Model 70. This is one of my favorite Model 70s, and it's kind of an interesting rifle, so let's talk about it a little bit. I'm hoping to get it out to the range. Don't know if I'll make it today or not on 308 Day. I might have to do that part of the video another time. We'll see how things work out. But what we have here is what you would generically call a Model 70 push feed rifle, or a post 64. This one, the serial number dates it to 1968, and there were some of these Model 70s that came from Winchester with this Mannlicher stock that was fitted by Fagin, and 19-inch barrel, nice carbine configuration, nice and handy. My understanding is that the receivers were taken off the line sometime, before 68, 67, 68, some of them in 68. The production run was done from officially 1968 to 1974, but there are examples that are verified as original that have receiver serial numbers earlier than those ranges, like 66 or so. And my understanding is they were taken off the line, barreled with the 19-inch barrel, sent to Fagin, stocked up, brought back, and sold off. The total run in 4 different calibers is supposedly 2,401. How you got that extra one, I'm not sure, but they were only available in 4 calibers. They were available in 30-06, 270, 243, and 308. And oddly enough, the 308 is the rarest variant. Some experts that really know a lot about this model and have collected them, one fella, he went online in a lot of the forums as I fly a 310, which I'm assuming he means a Cessna 310. A lot of information over time, and he's fine-tuned it as time went on and he learned more. He seems to have a very good knowledge of what's out there in these rifles, and his information seems to indicate that about half of them went overseas of that 2,401. But the numbers look like, roughly 1,204 in 30-06, 593 in 270, 387 of them in 243, and then a whopping 217 of them in 308, which this one is a 308. And so I'm really happy to have it. I've always been kind of fond of the Ruger that was in the International-Style Stock, the Mannlicher-Style Stock, the 77s, and I do have one of those as well that I haven't ever fired, and I have not fired this rifle either. I just grabbed it out today for 308 Day, and a friend owned this, a friend that, he runs a gun store, but he also has his own personal collection, and we were talking about the international stocked rifles, and what I really wanted at one point in time was a Model 77 RSI in 7x57 or 275 Rigby. They did label some that way. And he says, well, I've got a Model 70 in 308. And I'm like, really? And he told me about it. And I didn't see the rifle for the longest time. I was interested in it. I kept asking about it, told him I'd be interested in all that. And then one day I was down at the store and bought something else and mentioned it. And the very next day, one of the guys from the shop text messaged me and said, hey, if you want that Model 70, come get it. And I'm like, okay. So I don't walk, run down to the store, and I went and picked it up, and we came to an agreement on a price. When I got it, it had a set of Weaver bases on it and a loopholed scope, inexpensive loopholed rifleman rings, but I have since slipped those off and just put the screws back in, and we'll run the sights. So anyway, rifle that I'm really happy to have, and in reading about them online, there's a few things that you look at on these to make sure that they're authentic. The serial number on this one is in the right range. It's got a 1968 serial number on it. It does have the anti-bind slot in the bolt, which rides on the rail on the right side of the receiver, which that was right about 68. A lot of things changed with Winchester in 68 and everybody else with the gun control laws and stuff, so a lot of model changes happened at about the same time. But of course, this one being the 1968 has a smooth bolt. It doesn't have knurling on the bolt, but pretty typical in that regards. And it just has standard markings on the 19-inch barrel. Doesn't say carbine or anything. If it says carbine or featherweight, that would kind of indicate that maybe somebody just restocked a rifle. And a lot of people get excited and say someone made a fake. Well, I wouldn't say fake when those things happen. I think somebody wanted a rifle with a different stock, whether it be composite or full length or whatever, and they build rifles. The guys that build rifles don't necessarily try to pawn them off as something they're not. But this one, to the best of anyone's knowledge that's ever looked at it, is authentic. It is not perfect. It has some handling marks on it and stuff. You can see up in the front there's a couple of marks. My friend that did own it before said he did carry it a little bit in the field. There's a couple of things about these that, like I said, this that I Fly a 310 fella online over the years has said about them. They're a typical post 64, so you have the aluminum trigger guard, you have the box magazine liner on the inside that has feed lips as part of the magazine rather than receivers that are fine-tuned to feed the appropriate caliber. So they're not really a caliber specific receiver. The magazine box has bent-in lips at the top that takes care of the differences in the cartridges. And then the floor plate is actually a steel casting that then they plate with copper, and then they black chrome them. So that's why that's so glossy. It's actually a black chrome floor plate, which these are all features that are of all of the push feed Model 70s, the post 64s, not particularly this model. And these were model 7004 through 7006, and I think that the 308 is a 7005 or a 7006. I don't know for sure which one was which, but I do know that generically they were called a Model 70 rack rifle, and the OT6s were 7004s, and I believe the 270s were 700s, and I think the OT6s are 7006, but I'm not sure. So someone can fact check that if they want. But they said they were sent off and stocked at Fajan. But another thing that is indicative of these is that when the bolts were fitted, they hand etched the serial number in the bottom of the bolt. This one does have that matching there, and like I said before, it does have the anti-bind slot that rides on the rail. Pretty typical. And then of course the sights are Williams. Both the front and rear sights are Williams. If you look at that, if you have any Williams sights, you'll recognize right away. And that's how they were fitted as these were delivered. So what's really interesting about it is, especially the 308 with a production run of about 217 from 1968 officially to 1974, this is probably the scarcest or lowest quantity, you might say, production cataloged Winchester rifle. Doesn't mean it's the most valuable, doesn't mean it's the most desirable, it just means that it's a really rare bird. Rare doesn't always mean super expensive. The pricing on these has kind of varied. Push feed Model 70s of any sort don't do particularly well in the collector market versus what you might see in pre-64s. So at one point in time, people said that one of these might fetch 2/3 more than a typical push feed Model 70. So, it wouldn't be an expensive rifle by those numbers, but there was a 30-06 on Rock Island auctions a while back. And when they listed it, they were saying that the expected bring would be about, $900 to $1,400, and the rifle sold for $4,313. Of course, that's high dollar auction. People get excited, gotta have it. I didn't pay anywhere near that for this rifle. I bought this rifle for a very, very fair price. I had nagged my friend about this rifle for 4 or 5 years before I ended up with it. So it was one of those things that I went after when I wanted it. But it's a good feeling rifle. It's much broader in the stock and a little heavier than the Ruger 77 RSIs, a little heavier, but typical. It's got the metal cap on the front, and the Fajan stock, the full-length Mannlicher-Style. So it's a rifle that I really like, and I'm looking forward to getting it out to the range. I'm hoping I can get out there today on 308 day, but I don't know if I will or won't. The other thing that I've read about these is that they did not ship with swing swivel. Boy, that's a tongue twister. They did not ship with sling swivels installed, but supposedly there was a set of sling swivels included when they were purchased with instructions to install them. I have no idea if these are the ones that were included with this rifle or if it's something someone put on later. I have no idea, no way of knowing. Those are just typical everyday sling parts. That's Uncle Mike's quick release there, so that obviously didn't ship with this rifle in 1968, but the studs may have. I don't know. I don't know what the original ones would look like. But so anyway, there you have it. That's my Model 70 Mannlicher 308. And I hope I get to show you this rifle at the range soon. Well, okay, I did make it to the range on 308 day. We're going to be dealing with a couple of challenges here. The sun is right in my eyes and right in the target camera's eyes, and we've got some wind. So there's going to be some wind noise on the video, but 308 day only comes once a year, so we're just going to have to deal with it. What I'm going to run here is some ammo that was not developed for this rifle. This was for my 788, and it's a we're going to run this 168 grain Hornady boat tail hollow point match bullet, and we're IMR 4064, 39.7 grains. It ran good in the 788. This brass is sized for the 788's chamber. It's going to be just a touch tight in this Model 70. We talked about the Model 70 a little bit in the backyard there at home, so I don't see a need to go over much of that again, but 1968 vintage Model 70 Mannlicher, one of my favorite rifles, and we're just going to start here at 50 yards. I have never shot this rifle before. This will be the first time out with it. We're just iron sights, obviously. It did have a scope on it when I purchased it, but I took that off and just went back to the iron sights. And let's see what it does, and hope that we're on the target, and hope that the target camera films it okay, and hope that the wind isn't too bad. We'll just have to run with it. Okay. Yeah, the sun is right in my eyes. I'm going to go ahead and cover that bullseye with the post and hope for the best. Pretty good. Let's go with another. Happy 308 day. I know that wind is going to be a problem on my video. Seeing some snow splashing down there, so it's a tough sight picture with the sun right there. It's got a nice trigger, give it that. I can barely get the sights with that sun glare. There's 4. Brass is fine. Say I've run this load a lot in my 788. I'll have to get some brass around for this rifle and size it appropriately. Those are just a smidgen tight, a little bit of pressure on the bolt handle when we close it, which, you know, some people run them that tight. Oh man, the glare on the front. Actually, I'm getting a little bit of glare in the trough of the rear sight right now, and it's hard to pick it up, but we'll guess. Go off to the side of the black. Look at that. That was a bit of a guess. Couldn't hardly get the sights on that one. To see the glare on the rifle right there from the sun, that's a tough shot. Let's go down and look at the target. Okay, kind of walking up to the 50-yard backstop here, and you can see the sun is right there. That's a tough shot. I don't even know if the target camera down here picked things up very well with that sun right there, but oh, that's not bad at all given the sun that I was looking into. It looks like my windage was pretty good, but had a hard time with lining things up to get the elevation correct. Now granted, this is only 50 yards. It's not really indicative of anything other than it's on the paper, and I could probably make a sight adjustment to bring that point of impact to the right a bit, but I think I'll do that another time on video or off the camera, one or the other, because I know that the wind in the camera on this one is not going to be any fun for anybody. I just wanted to get out and do some 308 on 308 day, and we achieved that with the Model 70 Winchester. So mission accomplished, and thanks everybody for watching.